thank you for joining us on episode 30 of You're Welcome, the podcast where two dudes who don't know squat become experts on everything. I am Zach,
I'm Drew.
and welcome to the show.
You
This
sound
week we'll
like
be teaching you about.
you sound like the narrator from the little music interludes with Larry the Cucumber. Now we're going to have a song with Larry. You remember those?
You know, I actually never watched the VeggieTales.
No.
I've only seen one film, but no, that was it.
There was
like when I
one
was a kid, I
about
was 6.
there was one about him losing his hairbrush, which was ironic because he didn't have any hair.
He's a cute, yeah, okay.
But like every single time that there was a Larry song, there's this like British dude who came on. It's like, this is the part of the show where we have a silly song with Larry. He sounded just like him. I'm covering escapism in such a way in the Houdini sense of escaping from things.
Okay, so not like taking drugs and chilling out on the sofa.
Escapism, man.
Yeah, dude.
An escape from reality.
Getting out there, man. And I'll be doing I was mistaken last episode. It is tarot card reading.
What'd you say?
I said tarot.
Like a carrot?
Yeah.
I didn't even realize you said that. I would have corrected you.
I said it on purpose, but you know, had to get it in there.
Oh, lovely.
Well, hey, welcome to the show. I want to thank all my listeners, all our listeners. Excuse me, not mine listeners.
Whoa!
I'm sorry.
Your
I'm sorry.
listeners, huh?
I overstepped my bounds here. I'm not the most popular person on this podcast. Clearly, it's Sean.
Okay. Yeah, Sean.
No, but I was gonna ask, how was your week? I know from a little personal message, it's kind of it was rough there for a minute.
I really haven't done anything this week.
Yeah.
Because I haven't left my house.
Yeah.
Because I got sick.
Yeah. And the yeah.
You probably could guess what I got.
Yeah, I mean, you're staying at home for what, maybe 2 weeks, maybe
something. Yeah, roughly
2 weeks. You kind of figure out what he got from there.
But it really hasn't been bad. The first 24 hours were like it was like a hardcore like flu, and then after that, I had some dizziness and a cough, and now it's really just a cough. But it was fairly easy to get through, really, and my quarantine ends, and I go back to work on Wednesday. So,
well, there you go.
So for those of you at home, that would have been probably about 5 days ago.
Yeah.
4 or 5 days ago, since you're listening on Monday.
Well, I mean, I'm glad you're feeling better.
What about you, though?
Me? Oh, yeah. Man. I tell you what, if anyone like follows my Twitter and sees the very rare tweets I send out, work has been terrible.
Oh, baby.
Just not great. But other than that, I mean, I made cookies with my future wifey. I made gingerbread cookies, which are, not to toot our own horn here, because I mean, I'll toot her horn because she made them. Fantastic. You know how like most gingerbread cookies you get, they're like super dry and the icing just isn't satisfying on them?
Yeah.
These are moist. I know some people hate that. Moist. And the icing is just it's tasty. It's sweet. It complements the ginger. It's good. I don't know. Well, I'm sending you a box, by the way.
Oh, I'm ready for it. But speaking of future wifey, y'all are getting married in a month.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's coming up quick. It feels like the longest time to wait, but also it's coming up very, very quickly, and I don't know how to handle it. I'm excited for it though.
You got next to nothing to plan, right?
Pretty much. I just got to. I got to figure out where we're gonna stay at.
Yeah, I booked my hotel. I booked my hotel this probably like a couple days ago. So
Oh, well, there you go.
I'm
Okay.
ready.
I'm getting there.
I got my tuxedo figured out as well.
I saw that. Thank you for doing that.
Was that the last one?
No, no, I'm still waiting on.
I know exactly who you're still waiting
Your
on.
name starts with a G.
Great.
Need to get him on it. But
We'll see who shows up. We'll see who shows up to the bachelor party.
Oh yeah, might just be 2 people. Meaning just you and me.
You and me. That's fine. We'll have fun.
Oh yeah.
Well, anyway, I reckon, if while we are on this bachelor party, we end up in a drunken stupor, waking up somewhere where we don't recognize the landscape, and we've been kidnapped and we're being sold into the black market. We need help. We need the ability to escape from our imprisonment.
Help!
This episode will come mighty in handy.
Absolutely.
Because here we go. Some tips and tricks for how to escape situations that aren't ideal.
Yeah.
So I'll open up with what are some reasons that you would need to escape from something. I just gave a great example of being kidnapped.
Yeah. Okay.
There's also natural disaster situations where you might be stuck in an elevator or under some debris in a flood, or man-made disasters, terrorism situations, or maybe you're just trying to plan a magic routine and you're performing an escape.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm going to cover a few instances, but really, I can't cover all of those. So
sure, yeah.
So, but I'll cover a few instances where you may find yourself stuck in some way, and what the best course of action would be to escape from that situation.
Okay, cool. Lay it on me.
So let's take a disaster first. You're driving over a bridge, let's say, and you lose control of your car and go careening over the side into a body of water.
That wasn't very good.
And you hear a water ghost off in the distance. You're going to need to escape the car, and in this instance, a very fast reaction time is your best friend. So the best way to escape is not opening the door. This isn't going to be possible with the water pressure pushing against the side of the door.
Okay.
You'll just be wasting precious seconds of escape time. So instead, if you have a forward-thinking mind and you're slow motion mid-air, and you're like, oh man, I'm gonna have to escape this car, go ahead and start pressing that down button on your window. Start rolling down your window as quickly as possible, so that you can jump out of the window, out of the car, before water can start filling into the cab. If, however, your reaction time is not fast enough and water pushes against the window before you can get it rolled down, you're going to have to break the window instead. So it's important to know that no amount of force that you'll be able to exert is going to be able to break the front windshield. They're specifically designed to take a beating.
Okay.
It will not break.
Interesting.
So instead, break the side window, the one that you would normally roll down. You can do this by jamming your heel towards the top of the window, and or by stabbing the prongs of your headrest. So like remove the headrest from your seat and stab the prongs towards the bottom of the window. Of course, they do make tools specifically for breaking car windows, and that would be convenient, but most people don't prepare for situations like this.
Right. Yeah.
But of course, once the window is broken, escape through the rush of water that will now inevitably be pouring through your now broken window.
Hmm.
And with a fast enough reaction time and a calm and collected mind, you might just save your own life.
Hmm. Okay. Cool. So I think I'm pretty educated on how to get myself out of an emergency like that. But what about something that may not kill me in the process? Maybe something a little less dire. Can you tell me a little bit more about something like, I don't know, showman like
Something a
something?
little more magical,
Yeah, a little
a
akin
little
to
more
Houdini.
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, how about being bound at the wrist?
Oh.
Yeah, great. Okay,
Oh.
so the most common escape trick has got to be escaping from a pair of handcuffs,
Yeah.
and it's actually a lot easier than you might think.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of Houdini's escapes involved padlocks where the key was hidden somewhere on his body before the beginning of the escape, in
Hmm.
his mouth somewhere or tucked into his palm. You could easily incorporate that without my help. It's cut and dry.
Yeah.
But what if you don't have the original key for the cuffs?
Yeah, like you
You
get
still
arrested.
have, yeah. You still have a few options involving different types of shims. The lock mechanism on a pair of handcuffs isn't complicated whatsoever. With a paperclip and a little practice, you could easily teach yourself how to pick open a pair of police grade handcuffs. There's
Huh.
also a method of snapping a hair clip to make a shim that you use to jam into the side of the cuffs to pick up the release mechanism on the inside. Of course, both of these
Mm.
methods are more easily learned through a video tutorial, so YouTube is your friend.
Hmm. Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. So let's say you don't have handcuffs, but you still want to impress your friends with escapism. Like you learned how to do it via YouTube, but you don't have good handcuffs. You got the crappy ones you buy at the dollar store.
You
It's like
got
I
the
could break out of those
you got
easy.
the plastic sheriff cowboy
Yeah.
cuffs.
Yeah. That's all you
Well,
can afford.
there's still a really great party trick that you can incorporate: duct tape and zip ties, which are even easier than handcuffs.
Oh.
But they definitely look intimidating, that could be impressive if you're
Hmm.
able to get out of those.
Gotcha. Okay.
So no shim required for this, obviously. Hopefully, you're conscious whenever your kidnapper decides to bind your wrists. Otherwise, this is just a party trick. But when when your wrists are just before they are about to be bound, make your hands into fists and try to make them as big as possible. Make them take up as much space as possible while you're being bound. And then once you're bound and left alone, or you're at your party, so that doesn't really matter. But
Yeah.
you're ready to escape. If flattening your hands and wiggling out isn't an option, like, and you still don't have enough room, then all you got to do is ball your hands up to a fist again, so that there's pressure right
Hmm.
on the binds themselves,
Right.
and then raise your hands above your head and then strike them down across your chest, uh, and that will cause enough pressure to literally rip through the tape or through the zip tie itself.
Huh.
And you may not. The thing with the zip ties is it may not feel like it's going to rip through the zip tie. It's less of a actually snapping the plastic of the zip tie and more of causing enough force to make the pin on the inside of the catch mechanism to let
Hmm.
go of the ridges of the zip tie itself.
Huh.
But as far as duct tape, the duct tape will actually rip when you do that.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's I'd never want to use duct tape on any ducts ever again. If it's that easy, no. Just a little bit of pressure and that thing is just ripped right off. No, I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, well, obviously that method's a little less effective when you got 50 layers of duct tape, but
Oh, well, yeah.
if they only go around 4 or 5 times, then you're probably going to be okay using that method.
Well, that was interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so there's I've gone over a few techniques to
Okay.
get out of certain situations.
Yeah.
I wanted to take a portion of my time to talk about getting over the mental side of escaping something.
Okay. Yeah.
In some instances, you might find yourself not only bound by the wrists, but also confined to a small space,
Hmm.
perhaps a storage chest or a coffin or something like that.
Heaven
And
forbid.
those, yeah, no, that would be awful. But
Yeah.
if you find yourself in that situation, what's the biggest thing to overcome? It's not your wrists being bound. It's claustrophobia, right?
Yeah.
A few symptoms of claustrophobia include shortness of breath, increased heart rate, sweating, confusion, disorientation, etc. These symptoms in particular can definitely hinder someone and make it less likely for them to get out of a tight space that they're trying to escape.
Right.
So how do we mind over matter a situation where we're trapped in a small space? Well, first understand what exactly is happening to the mind during a claustrophobia panic attack.
Hmm.
Uh, these attacks where we find ourselves hyperventilating and in an anxious, senseless state, they're caused by a lack of control. If our brain is unable to control a situation and we can't run away from the situation, we have nothing left to do except have a
Hmm.
mental breakdown. It's also much more common and easily happened upon in a performance situation with the aid of stage fright or just the general nervousness that comes with
Yeah.
performing escape rather than escaping out of necessity or survival. So if you're going to if you're planning on performing, it's good to know that when you're locked up in a claustrophobic, storage chest, you're not gonna freak out while you're searching for the key that you planted on your body to undo your handcuffs and
Hmm.
step by step to get out of the situation. You gotta be comfortable with the small space that you're in. So overcoming that sense of dread. A really great way of doing this would be with a method that is referred to as exposure therapy. And this method can actually be applied to more than just claustrophobia. It just happens to be this example since I'm covering the topic of escape. But really, any phobia that someone may have could potentially be made better with exposure therapy. And it sounds exactly like what it is. So, if you have problems with confined spaces, purposefully put yourself in a confined space. The more that you deal with the phobia head on, the more likely you'll be able to overcome it in the future. And of course, maybe you just start small. If the goal is to be able to calmly and efficiently escape a storage chest, then start with something bigger and easier to escape, like maybe a closet. The closet is easy to escape, but it is a little cramped.
Hmm.
Um, Once you find yourself in the closet, bask in that anxious feeling of claustrophobia and try to get used to it. And once you've done that for a few minutes, try to get rid of that feeling. Take deep breaths and slow your heartbeat down. And once you're completely comfortable inside the closet, then you may proceed to escape. Then I would just repeat this process with smaller and smaller spaces until claustrophobia is no longer an issue. And before you know it, you won't mind taking a nap in that storage chest that you're trying to learn to escape from.
Huh. Well, that hmm. The immersion therapy is interesting because I mean, you did you remember a show? I forget what um I forget the network it was on, but it was called Fear Factor.
Yeah,
Super popular, where they
yeah.
put people in these kinds of situations and just let them do what they do.
hmm
It would be interesting to see like those same people take these steps and then go back and try to do those again and see
hmm
how they react because it's no longer a symptom of fear or claustrophobia or what have you. It's more of like, okay, I'm prepared for this. Let's see what the challenge is.
Yeah,
Right?
that show is so crazy because so do you listen to the Joe Rogan podcast at all?
No, no, not at all.
Well, I don't know if he was always the host, but at one point he was the host of Fear Factor at
Yeah.
least. And and I remember I was listening to his podcast one day and he was talking about a similar topic of like mind over matter, and he
Mm-hmm.
was talking about this chick who all she had to do was like eat a bug, like you could eat a cockroach or something like that. And he was just like he was he was looking like just looking at her. She was like this personal moment, and he was like,
Mhm.
all you gotta do is eat that cockroach and you get $10,000. $10,000, boom, just like that. And and she like after like struggling with it, she just finally gave up and couldn't do it.
Mhm.
And then he said, he pointed at her and he said, and that's why women aren't president.
Ooh, ooh. Ouch.
And then his
Did
comment
that
was,
air?
no,
Did that
his
one
comment
air?
was, of course that
Okay.
didn't air, and I was mad that it didn't because that was so funny at the time.
Oh, no.
Oh
That
my
is
god.
terrible.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
but yeah, definitely. I think if she exposed herself to something more mild, I don't know
Yeah.
what is slightly more mild than eating a cockroach.
Grasshopper, maybe?
I don't know, something
Ants?
that's like maybe like the candied grasshoppers that you can
Yeah.
get in like China or whatever.
Yeah, something like that.
But yeah, like working your way up instead of getting on Fear Factor and immediately you got to eat a cockroach.
It's crazy. It's crazy. But thank you for sharing for that little bit of information about escapism.
You're welcome.
Ah, there it is. Hey, guys, I want to take a little quick break here, and say if you're enjoying the show, go ahead and take some time to recommend it to just one of your friends this week. It helps us grow. We don't do any marketing. We don't have any money for that, and we rely entirely on the word of mouth. So if you can do what you can to help us, would be extremely grateful. If you could tweet about it, just send your friends a link. Don't even care if they're interested. Just send it to them.
Shout it from the highest peak of the tallest mountain, the
Shout it from the Himalayas.
the highest room in the tallest tower.
Yeah, just tell people about it. We'd be extremely grateful. Also, if you want, you can also send in a 10 or 15-second music clip if you're musically inclined. You like to make a little music stuff, you can send it our way. We'll showcase it. Maybe we'll showcase it in the middle, or plug your SoundCloud, your iTunes. No,
Sure.
that's is iTunes still a thing? I thought that was dead.
No, it's going.
Oh, it's going. Okay. Anyway, whatever you
Apple
want.
Apple Music.
Apple Music, something. We'll plug it. We'll plug it, and we'd like to showcase some of the talents. We like listening to music, and we'd love to share your stuff. You may not make a lot of money off of it, but hey, there it is. Well, I guess it's about that time. uh, so I'm gonna teach you guys a little bit about tarot card reading. The too long didn't read, or the TLDR, is tarot card reading is the practice of using tarot cards to gain insight into the past, present, or future by formulating a question, then drawing and interpreting the cards that you draw. Reading tarot cards is a type of cartomancy or divination using a deck of cards. So I'm going to go into a little bit of the history about it. And I didn't know this because I know the basic, oh yeah, it's magical. You draw the cards and you learn your future. You go to a fortune teller, they're all mystical and all that. But turns out the original purpose of tarot cards was to play games. A very small or cursory explanation of the rules for a tarot-like deck is given in a manuscript by Marciano da Tortona before 1425.
Perfect pronunciation.
Thank you. Vague descriptions of gameplay or game terminology follow for the next 2 centuries until about the earliest known complete description for rules for a French variant in 1637. So it's kind of like, I think the original game might have been more akin to the game of Mao, if you ever played that.
Okay.
So it's a little loosey goosey, and then some people actually started putting rules and stuff into it. But the game of tarot has many regional variants. Tarocini has survived in Bologna, and there are still others played in Piedmont and Sicily. Tarocini, or the Italian suited tarot decks, were the oldest form of tarot decks to be made, and being first devised in the 15th century in northern Italy. The so-called occult tarot decks are based on the decks of this type. Um, the 18th century saw tarot's greatest revival, during which it became one of the most popular card games in Europe, played everywhere except Ireland and Britain, the Iberian Peninsula, and the Ottoman Balkans. French tarot experienced another revival during the 1970s, and France has the strongest tarot gaming community. Regional tarot games, often known as tarot, or tarot with two Ks, they all spelled differently, are widely played in Central Europe within the borders of the former Austro-Hungarian Empire. So, in short, there are many other playable deck versions, but I like to touch on the there are many other playable deck versions
Right. So
around.
It started off as a game, you're saying, but at what point did it flip from being a game to being a tourist trap?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you a little bit about that. Sources are a little iffy from what I could find. But one of the earliest references to tarot triumphs, or the, card reading, and probably the first reference to tarot as the Devil's Picture Book, is given around 1450 or 1470 by a Dominican preacher in a fiery sermon against the evils of the devil's instrument. References to the tarot as a social plague continue throughout the 16th and 17th centuries, but there are no indications that the cards were used for anything but games anywhere other than Bologna. As philosopher and tarot historian Michael Dumet noted, it was only in the 1780s, when the practice of fortune-telling with regular playing cards had been well established for at least 2 decades, that anyone began to use the tarot pack for cardomancy. Many involved in the occult and divinatory practices attempt to trace the tarot back to ancient Egypt, divine hermetic wisdom, and the mysteries of Isis. Not the terrorist group. The fortune god. I think Greek, right?
Isis?
I think.
It's Greek?
I think.
Is it Iris?
Iris. Yeah.
Iris?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Possibly the first of those people was Antoine Court de Gébelin. I'm going to call him Gerblin.
Here there be Gerblins.
Gerblin was a French clergyman who wrote that after seeing a group of women playing cards, he had the idea that tarot was not merely a game of cards, but was in fact of ancient Egyptian origin, of mystical Kabbalistic import, and of deep divine significance. Gerblin published a dissertation on the origins of the symbolism in the tarot volume of work L'On Mint Primitif in 1781. He thought the tarot represented ancient Egyptian theology, including, it was Egyptian, that's right, including Isis, Osiris, and Typhon. For example, he thought the card he knew was, as the Papese, known today as the High Priestess, represented Isis. He also related 4 tarot cards to the 4 Christian cardinal values: temperance, justice, strength, and prudence. He relates to the tower to a Greek fable about avarice. Although the ancient Egyptian language had not yet been deciphered, Mr. Gerblin asserted the name that tarot came from the Egyptian words tar, path, or road, and the word ro, ros or rog, meaning king or royal, and that the tarot literally translated into royal road of life. Sorry, my iPad went off. Somebody's texting me. Later,
there is an Egyptian god named Isis.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I looped back. Yeah. So later Egyptologists found nothing in the Egyptian language to support Mr. Gerblin's etymologies. Despite any lack of evidence, the belief that the tarot cards are linked to the Egyptian Book of Thoth continues to this present day. So the actual source of the occult tarot can be traced to 2 articles in Volume 8, one written by Mr. Gerblin himself, and one written by M. Leslie de M. I could not find anybody with that name. The second has been noted to have been even more influential than Mr. Gerblin. The author takes Gerblin's speculations even further, agreeing with him about the mystical origins of the tarot in ancient Egypt, but making several additional influential statements that continue to influence mass understanding of the occult tarot even to this day. He made the first statements, proposing that the tarot was the Book of Thoth, and made the first association of tarot with cartomancy. Mr. Gerblin was also the first to imply the existence of a connection between the tarot and the Romani people, although this connection did not become well established in the public consciousness until other French art authors, such as Boiteau de Ambly and Jean-Alexandre Vaillant, began in the 1850s to promote the theory that tarot cards had been brought to Europe by the Romani people. The actual first person to assign divinatory meanings to the tarot cards was a cartomancer known as Jean-Baptiste Aliette, also known as Detellia, in 1783. So, according to source Dumet, Atelier in their research devised a method of tarot divination in 1783, wrote a cartomantic treatise of tarot as the Book of Thoth, created the first society for tarot cartomancy. That is a long name in French that I will not read. They also created the first corrected tarot, supposedly fixing errors that resulted from misinterpretation and corruption through the mists of antiquity, and made the Grand Italia deck. They also created the first Egyptian tarot to be used exclusively for tarot cartomancy and published under the imprint of his society, the Dictionnaire Simonique, a book that systematically tabulated all the possible meanings for each card could bear when upright and when reversed. Also worth noting, tarot is often used in conjunction with the study of the Hermetic Kabbalah. In these decks, all the cards are illustrated in accordance with the Kabbalic principles, most being influenced by the Rider-Waite deck. More on that later. Its images were drawn by artist Pamela Colman Smith to the instructions of Christian mystic and occultist Arthur Edward Waite, and published in 1911. So it's a relatively recent rendition. A difference from Marseille's and style decks and Waite and Smith use scenes with esoteric meanings on the suit cards. These esoteric or divinatory meanings were derived in a great part from the writings of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn group, of which Waite had been a member. The meanings and many of the illustrations show the influence of astrology as well as other Kabbalistic principles. Atelier was the first to use tarot cards specifically designed for occult purposes in 1789, looping back to Atelier, in keeping with the misplaced belief that cards were derived from the Book of Thoth. Atelier's tarot contained themes related to ancient Egypt. So, the 78 card tarot deck used by esotericists has two distinct parts. The major arcana, known as the Greater Secrets, or trump cards, consist of 22 different cards without suits. And some of our nerdier listeners may recognize these suits from some weird, obscure anime. There's the Magician, the High Priestess, the Empress, the Emperor, the Hierophant, the Lovers, the Chariot, Strength, the Hermit, Wheel of Fortune, Justice, the Hanged Man, Death, Temperance, the Devil, the Tower, the Star, the Moon, the Sun, Judgment, and Zawardo.
There's also a lot of those are used in a lot of video games. The one that comes to my mind more notably would be The Binding of Isaac.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a lot of there's
that one.
Like the first 15 that you said.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but so in that game there are activatable items. You're literally picking up tarot cards.
Oh, cool.
And the Magician, turns your tears into magnets, and they direct themselves towards the enemies instead of being aimed.
Yeah, that's cool.
But I'm willing to bet that there's a handful of other video games that use tarot cards as well.
Oh, probably. Yeah. Let's see. The last one is the Fool. Cards from the Magician to the World are numbered in Roman numerals from 1 to 22, while the Fool is the only unnumbered card, sometimes placed at the beginning of the deck as 0 or at the end as 22. The minor arcana, or lesser secrets, consist of 56 cards, divided into 4 suits 14 cards each, 10 numbered cards, and 4 court cards. They're the king, the queen, the knight, the page, and jack, and each of the 4 tarot suits. The traditional Italian tarot suits are swords, batons, coins, and cups. But in modern occult tarot decks, of course, the batons are often called wands, rods, or staves, while the coins is often called pentacles or discs. The terms major arcana and minor arcana were first used by Jean-Baptiste Bitoy, also known as Paul Christian, and are never used in relation to tarot card games. Some decks exist primarily as artwork. Such art decks sometimes contain only the 22 major arcana. So, the 3 most common decks used in esoteric tarot are the Tarot of Marseilles, Rider-Waite Smith, and the Thoth Tarot deck. Quite a bit.
Cool. So we know the history.
Yeah.
But how about modern day usage?
Okay. Well, you can visit your local fortune teller to read your fortune. Maybe they'll help you out with it. Maybe you could bring a deck, or maybe they'll have their own. I don't know. But you can also use tarot cards yourself. It's widely used as a device for people to seek personal advice and spiritual growth. Practitioners believe that the simple-looking tarot cards can help the individual explore the depths and nodes of one's spiritual path and discover a new realm of possibility for enrichment in regard to the inner self, whereas professional tarot is sometimes seen as charlatanism. So, it's a little showy. It's like, oh, you pull the card of death. There will be a death in the family soon. Well, yeah, grandma's close to 90. I'm expecting it. Right? Yeah. But people who use the tarot for personal divination seek insights on topics ranging widely from health to economic issues for what they believe would be the best for them spiritually. So, in a way, some people could be relating this to like a prayer. It's just a way of visualizing it and interpreting it for yourself. Thus, the way practitioners use the cards in regard to personal, questions is subject to a variety of personal beliefs. For example, some tarot users may believe the cards themselves are magically providing the answers, which is a little silly since you're shuffling it, but others may believe a supernatural force or a mystical energy is guiding the cards into a layout. Alternatively, some practitioners believe that the cards could also be utilized as a psychology tool based on their imagery. An idea often attributed to Carl Jung. Carl Jung wrote in his research on this, it also seems as if the set of pictures in the tarot cards were distantly descended from the archetypes of transformation, a view that has been confirmed for me in a very enlightening lecture by Professor Bernoulli. So during a 1933 seminar on active imagination, Jung described the symbolism he saw in the imagery. The original cards of the tarot consist of the ordinary cards, the king, the queen, the knight, and the ace, etc., etc. The only figures are somewhat different. Only the figures are somewhat different, and besides, there are 21 additional cards upon which there are symbols or pictures of symbolical situations. For example, the symbol of the sun, or the symbol of the man hung up by his feet, or the tower struck by lightning, or the wheel of fortune, and so on. Those are sort of archetypal ideas of a differentiated nature, which mingle with the ordinary constituents of the flow of the unconscious, and therefore it is applicable for an intuitive method that has the purpose of understanding the flow of life, possibly even predicting future events, at all events lending itself to the reading of the conditions of the present moment. So that is a little bit of the personal usage. Would I use it in the magical sense? No. I'd like to learn how to play the card game, though. It sounds like fun, to be honest with you. I think the artwork would be pretty cool.
Yeah. I think it's sort of a nerdy thing to like get the tarot deck of like your favorite comic book or TV show or whatever. It's a merchandise opportunity.
Absolutely. You could probably get it with the I'm sure they have it somewhere. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Mm-hmm.
That obscure anime that I referenced. Yeah. You could probably get it with those symbols on it. It'd be pretty neat. So yeah, that was your Your little explanation on tarot card reading. A lot more on the history. Um,
Well, thank
as I
you.
as I tend to do. You're welcome. You're very welcome.
You're welcome.
Um, so I guess now you want to get into the hot sauce.
Yeah, we got some sauciness
Oh, oh,
to explore.
I'm gonna die.
Well, yeah, why don't you talk about the sauce you're trying today?
So truth be told, I have already tried it, but this comes from the Bravado Spice Company. It is a Ghost Reaper combination sauce that is also combined with akamiso. I'll read their little description here. Blazing hot chilies meet savory akamiso to create the perfect umami bomb. Buckle up, you're in for a wild ride. And let me tell you, it's very spicy. Its main ingredient is the ghost pepper, Carolina Reaper, followed by rice wine vinegar, akamiso, tamari, sesame oil, and salt.
This
So
reminds
spicy.
me that I recently did the one chip challenge by Pocky,
Yeah.
and the folks at home can Google this, but Zach, here's the packaging for that one
Oh.
chip challenge.
Oh no.
Shaped like a coffin.
Oh, it's good.
And on the packaging it says what to expect. Made with Carolina Reaper, scorpion pepper, and Sichuan peppercorn, this chip was created for the sheer pleasure of intense heat and pain.
Oh no.
Round 1, a spicy punch to the tongue. Round 2, a fiery jab to the face. Round 3, impaired vision from tears. Round 4, a low blow to the gut. And round 5 is the KO.
Oh dear.
And there was some rules that went along with it.
Yeah.
Of course, you had to eat the chip.
Yeah.
And then the whole game was, how long can you last before throwing in the towel, eating or drinking anything else? Of course, it doesn't really count unless you make it 5 minutes. But then past that, there's a 10-minute marker, a 30-minute, and then anything over an hour. But of course, I only went for the 5 minutes, so. But it was something. It was something.
Yeah. What did you win for just doing 5 minutes?
Well, it came with a little poster, like a little tiny champion poster.
Yeah. Hey, there you go.
So I get to keep that, I guess. Anyway,
toss it.
That's just a story. I'm not doing the one chip challenge.
Dang it. I was kind of expecting to see the chip.
That would have been great to do on the show, but
that would have been.
But someone bought the chip for me. Like, I was like, "Here, eat this," and I was like in the morning, right before work.
Oh no!
Like with all the coworkers like around me, I was like, "Okay."
Oh, that's great.
It wasn't so bad. But my hot sauce this week is this is from the Double Take Salsa Company.
Ooh.
And it is called cilantro avocado hot sauce.
Okay.
And yeah, so I mean, I'll eat it first, and then I guess we can talk about ingredients and all our scoring system once we're done eating.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So I got me some chips here.
Got me a dab of sauce. You ready?
Got my Fritos and a little spattering of this hot sauce here.
All right,
there we go. Get another chip. I don't think I had enough sauce on it. Oh.
I'll go first. I guess give you some time to cool off. I imagine it's somewhat spicy.
Ah. Oh. Ooh. Oh no, it's oh. Ah. Oh, this one. Ooh. Hurts. Go ahead.
Okay, so mine is comprised of, and of course, the order of the ingredients is the most of the ingredient to the least of. So mostly lime juice. Then we got some red wine vinegar, some cilantro, avocado, garlic, spring onion, water, salt, quote unquote spices, and then some dried super hot chilies. But
Hmm.
overall, very very tame as far as the spiciness goes. You could drink it like water.
Yeah.
So have no fear when it comes to spice. I imagine the polar opposite of what Zach just ate. Um, but as far as flavor goes, the lime juice is definitely very evident. The avocado, not so much. I usually am very sensitive, I guess, to avocado, being that I absolutely hate it.
Ah, well,
But at the same time, I don't really mind like Taco Bell's avocado ranch. That's not so bad.
have you had a Jack in the Boxes avocado stuff?
I have not. No, there's not
I
any
think
Jack
maybe
in
they
the
stopped
Box
doing it.
around my area.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
weird. Okay.
But we got our scoring system. Ranking each category out of 5. Got flavor, spiciness, and creativity.
Mm-hmm.
Flavor, flavor. I'm gonna go with a 3. I really enjoy lime juice, but that's really all this has got going for it.
Ooh,
Um,
shame.
almost it's. I mean, if I were to put this on my food, it would essentially be the same as just a thick lime juice. Some lime juice with some texture in it.
Yeah, there you go.
So it could be better as far as flavor goes, but the flavor that is there, I think, is good ish.
Yeah.
Spiciness is 1 out of 5. Really, not any spice whatsoever.
Shame.
In creativity, you really don't see very many green hot sauces nowadays. I mean, most people just go with, let's do some, some vinegar, a little bit of lime juice, and then just pick,
Yeah.
some like, pick a good tomato and then just like a pepper to revolve the sauce around.
Yeah.
Whereas this sauce focuses more on the green ingredients rather than the red ones.
Mm.
So being a green sauce slash salsa, I'll give it a 3.
Okay.
I'll
Cool.
give it a 3.
Cool. Speaking of green sauces, the Melinda's hot sauce does a really good jalapeno hot sauce that
Gotcha.
uses like spinach and a bunch of other stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah. But okay, let me talk about the sauce I actually ate. The akamiso. So I already told you guys the ingredients, but to go over, ghost pepper and Carolina Reaper are the top 2 ingredients in this bottle.
Ooh.
So I'm gonna go ahead and put the spiciness. That's a 10. Just a
10 out of
10
5.
out of 5. It's pretty hot. I'm sure there's hotter. There's got to be. No, I'll put it at 5. It's a 5, but the flavor, the spice hits you so immediately, it's hard to find the flavor.
Mhm.
So I think if I ate more of it and maybe had it in a soup or something Asian inspired, I could taste more of the flavor, to balance it out. But on a corn chip, not really. So flavor, I'd say a 3. I mean, it tastes good, but it's just very, very hot. For creativity, though, I think putting ghost pepper and Reaper peppers in akamiso is interesting. It's very interesting. I just wish the flavor was rounded out, or at least I wish I could taste it better.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of creativity, I think it's a great idea. I'd say it's a 4 out of 5 in creativity, but the flavor is just not quite matching.
Right.
Maybe that's just me, but yeah, that's the Bravado Spice Company Akamiso hot sauce. Give it a shot if you want to burn your tongue off.
This does sound pretty good to me.
It's
yeah, pretty good.
So yeah, that was our little hot sauce.
We got some shows, or we got some subjects rather, for 2 weeks from today.
Yep. So a hot minute away.
I mean, the normal amount of time.
Yeah, the normal amount of time, barring any unforeseen circumstances, like I don't know, somebody getting sick, Thanksgiving
Or a wedding
Christmas,
that's coming up.
or the wedding. Yeah, that too.
We'll have to plan around it.
Or yeah, try to.
Or if the bachelor party ends up being just you and I, we'll record in person for the first time.
Yeah, but we'll record it drunk.
There we go. Yeah. Any mistakes will be a shot.
Absolutely. Oh man.
But hey, for the next show, I'll be covering noodling, which isn't what you think.
It's very suspect. I don't know, man.
It's actually a form of fishing involving your arm and a very large catfish.
Oh, I've heard of this.
More on that in a couple weeks.
Good luck. I'll be covering cosplay, which I've been wanting to get into for a long time. Just haven't put in the effort to do that.
Well,
so now I'm going to do some research on the effort of other people.
I'm expecting a cosplay when we record. I want to see you in a costume.
Dadgummit. I'll see what I can do.
I'll show up with a catfish on my arm.
Good. I'm gonna hold you to that.
Just gonna get like a little temporary tattoo of a catfish.
Did they sell those?
Bet I could find it.
You probably could. It's on Amazon somewhere. Well, I want to give you guys a one last you're welcome. But first, Mr. Drew Catfish Frazier, would you mind telling our listeners how they can get in contact with us?
Absolutely. We've got a Twitter, and that handle would be at You're Welcome PO1. That's YOURE, You're Welcome PO1. You can mention us in a tweet with a question or with a subject that you think we should become experts in, or you can direct message that account, and we'll see it, and we will acknowledge that on the show.
Yeah. If you have any questions, like, I would ask maybe if you have some like personal questions that you want to know a little more about us. We don't really do a whole lot of that, but maybe throw the offer open. I don't know.
I damn near would answer any question, whether it's about me, about a subject, or maybe you happen to be on Twitter and you have a curiosity and you don't want to go to Google. Hey, Zach and Drew, who was the 28th president of the United States? I'm too lazy to go to Google. I'll just wait a couple weeks until you guys Google it for me.
By that time, I will have forgotten. But yeah.
It was William Howard Taft, by the way.
Oh, nice quick Googling there. That was quick. That was Google Food Master.
Quickest Google in the West. We also have a email address. That's yourwelcomequestions@gmail.com. That's YOURE without the apostrophe. Yourwelcomequestions@gmail.com. Once again, you can send us questions, send us suggestions for a subject matter, whatever you think we should become experts in. You can just send us little conversation tidbits, anything you want us to know about you, anything you want to know about us.
Yeah.
Also, get hooked in on the Facebook group, the You're Welcome podcast Facebook group. We like to create events for the upcoming show episodes for their release dates. It's just a little reminder. And of course, there's a little page for you to be able to discuss the latest episode with your fellow listeners. Go get hooked in on the Facebook group. That's all I got.
Good. Well, if that's all you got, you're welcome, and thank you for joining us. All you. Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
No, you're welcome.
No, you're welcome.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah, yep. So thank you for joining us, all you saucy people. I'm Ziggity Zach.
And I'm Drew.
Good. And we'll see you next time on...
You're welcome.
Welcome.